Pete, my question for you is on the topic of priorities and initiatives as Attorney General. So Pete, with your track record of accomplishments in Pasco, such as your role in the National Opioid Settlement Agreement and bringing the Basic Law Enforcement Academy Training Center to the city, what specific initiatives would you prioritize as Washington State Attorney General to enhance community safety and address the state's drug crisis? How do you plan to implement these initiatives to ensure they align with the principles of justice, effective governance, and the state constitution?
Well, thank you for that. I gotta give credit to the City of Pasco staff, especially our Chief of Police, who lobbied hard to get the Basic Law Enforcement Academy down in Pasco. I mean, he worked his butt off, he worked with the state, he lobbied legislatures, and we've actually had what I've understood is 10 people that have come through that academy who have stayed in the Tri-Cities who would have not otherwise been police officers. So whether it's across the river where Semi lives or whether it's in Pasco where I live, our communities are benefiting. And it wasn't just Chief Roski. You know, it was a collective process from the city council, from other cities that are working with us. So I don't take credit for that. My staff did a heck of a job, our chief did a heck of a job. What I will tell you is this. Our legislature's failing us. They're seeking to decriminalize drugs, whether it's possession or consumption or both. Manka Dhingra was the architect of that. She's one of my two opponents. Nick Brown, his comment when he was appointed United States Attorney by Joe Biden, in speaking to NPR, his comment was, I'd rather seek minimum sentencing standards so that these people, when they get out, have a fair shot. I'm here to tell you that the rule of law is to be obeyed. I will work with the legislature and say, we're going to make sure we recriminalize these. Let's get folks in jail who are pushing drugs illicitly. Let's make sure those folks that are doing it subversively, manufacturers, those who are involved in opioids or other drugs, so-called drugs, that they're held accountable under the Consumer Protection Act. Just this week, the Kansas Attorney General filed a 180-page complaint that includes multiple documents to sue Pfizer when they claimed that their shot was safe and effective. When I go to meet with the Republican Attorney Generals Association, I'm hoping he's there. And I'm hoping I can say, buddy, cut and paste, pal. Let's make sure that when corporations do illicit things and harm the people of Washington, that we're penalizing them too. And again, going back to the war on drugs, let's prosecute to the fullest. Thank you.
Trafficking. Can you elaborate on the comprehensive strategies you plan to develop in collaboration with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to combat human trafficking effectively? Additionally, how will you balance these efforts with your advocacy for constitutional rights, particularly in the context of responsible firearm ownership and ensuring public safety amidst rising crime rates and evolving legislation changes in Washington State? So if a legal comes to my house and wants to cause some problems, I think we need to answer that.
Yeah. Let me start with where I am today, or actually where I'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be in King County Superior Court arguing on your behalf to make sure that Initiative 2081, the Parents' Bill of Rights, is well defended. So, for everyone that remembers, in that six-pack of initiatives, one of those was the Parents' Bill of Rights, which makes sure that you as a parent or grandparent or guardian have access to materials in the schools and have access to the information that's being taught to your children and told to your children in their health records. Now, Let's Go Washington, Jim Walsh, One Washington, and Informed Choice of Washington were all integral in the passing of that, and we're seeking to have them as status in that case. And I'm excited that we have the ability to do that. Because here's the deal. Whether it's Mike being worried about the police coming to his house to bust down the door because someone makes false allegations about him, his wife, or his children, or their relationship, it all starts in the schools. If we can't protect our kid when they're out of our control and in the government's hands for that brief, temporary moment of 6 to 8 hours, we're never going to have control of our children, and the state will always seek more and more and more. And I can tell you this because I spent the past couple hours reading the pleadings of these organizations. All they want is more. Your kids are not your kids. These private organizations, the state see them as collateral. We absolutely have to stand for it. So what am I going to do? Tomorrow I'll defend you. When I'm elected Attorney General in January 2025, or technically November, but sworn in January, I will make sure that I work comprehensively with local PD, local prosecutors, as well as the WSP, the Washington State Patrol. We will make sure that individuals who are actually trafficking kids, drugs, or whatever it may be, that they are prosecuted. Again, back to the same common theme, prosecution of the bad guys. 2, make sure they have the resources. Does somebody need a grant? As Mr. Burgess said, you know, there's an opportunity for the governor to tell me what to do. There's also an opportunity for me to tell local prosecutors what to do. You're not doing your job. You're not checking out these kids that are getting trafficked. And so I look at the city of Pasco, and while we're one of the safest cities in the state of Washington, we do have concerns with trafficking. It has to do with the geographic location where we are. We're in that 182 corridor. We're also in a very high intensive ag area. So we have lots of folks that come in, these kids come with them, or they leave with them, or whatever the case may be. And so we've worked with our officers to make sure they're A, trained, and B, they have linguistic expertise, not just in English and Spanish, but you know, we have some of the Slavic groups, making sure that they have linguistic expertise to make sure they can communicate effectively with these individuals. So that's the starting point, but tomorrow is step number 1.
Yeah. To address them directly, what would you convey?
Do I really need 3 minutes for that answer? I think I could say, yeah. I look forward to seeing the vacant offices. No, realistically, Silent Majority Foundation was formed to stand for you. Quite frankly, it was formed to stand for my kids. So in self-interest of preserving my kids' future, you benefit. Whether or not Jay Inslee, whether or not Joe Biden, because we sued the Biden administration, whether or not Bob Ferguson or Chris Reichdahl, whether or not Alliance for Gun Responsibility are happy with what we've done, I don't care. We have a shirt that says facts over feelings. Maybe it should say law over feelings. The reality is anyone, as the judge just gave us a perfect dissertation on, that seeks power and authority rather than responsibility and integrity doesn't deserve to sit in that seat, whether it's Bob's, Jay's, or your local city council person. What we need is individuals of integrity, and those two are not. That's what I would tell them. Say, don't let the door hit you on the ass when you get out.